Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia and the continued occupation of northern Tigray by the Eritrean army. So first, the status quo continues. The Tigray Defense Forces continue to be fully mobilized, control vast swaths of the Tigray region, including the capital Mekelle. The Tenbian region is under the full control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Adigrat and areas south of Mekelle continue to be under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Now, in regards to the alleged peace agreement that has been reached, look, at the end of the day, the Eritrean army is still in northern Tigray. So for all intents and purposes, the peace treaty, whatever may have been signed in South Africa, is null and void. As long as the Eritrean military maintains a presence in northern Tigray. The Eritrean army does not appear to be, at this point, to be part of what happened in South Africa, which, again, really removes the whole idea that you could have a treaty under those conditions. How many Eritrean troops are in northern Tigray? Well, tens of thousands. There are massive amounts of Eritrean forces in Shiraro, Shire, Axum, forces that have been surrounded near Adwa, and they haven't been able to make advances into Adigrat and some other areas as well. They were not able to, the Eritrean army was not able to move into the Afar region and then seize Mekelle from the east. They weren't able to do that. The Ethiopian National Defense Forces, quote-unquote, Abiy loyalist forces, are still operating in the southeast, near Alamata, and they have not been able to progress north towards Mekelle as well. But again, as long as those Eritrean forces are in the north, I would say the peace treaty, whatever was signed, whatever agreement was agreed upon, at this point is null and void until those Eritrean forces remove themselves. And they continue to do what Eritrean army units do because of their poor logistical capabilities. They continue to loot, pillage, and supply themselves by foraging in the northern Tigray region. Now, there's been some talk about the possibility of some sort of restructuring of the ENDF or the Abiy loyalist forces. Now, the problem with what we are seeing in the former state of Ethiopia in regards to forces that are loyal to Abiy Ahmed is there are a variety of military formations inside the former state of Ethiopia. Obviously, you have the regional forces. You have Amharan regional forces. You have Oromia regional forces, special police forces, regional special forces. You have the ENDF, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the ground forces, the main component of the Abiy loyalist forces. But then you have another force as well. You have the Republican Guard. And the Republican Guard only answers to Abiy Ahmed. The Republican Guard has been formed and created and is used much like we see other quote-unquote Praetorian Guard units, such as we see in Syria. Obviously, they have a Republican Guard. And in Iraq as well, a regime security force under Saddam Hussein. You had the Republican Guard, and then you have the Special Republican Guard. And especially in Iraq, you really saw the expansion of the Republican Guard, where it at a certain point became more powerful than the actual Iraqi army. And in the case of the former state of Ethiopia, the Abiy loyalist forces that fall under the umbrella of the Republican Guard, while nowhere near the size of the ENDF, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, those forces loyal to Abiy Ahmed. But they are continuing to grow, meaning the Republican Guard forces. At one point, when the Republican Guard was formed, it was designed strictly as VIP protection. It was designed to protect the Prime Minister, his family, and other key members of government. But it has expanded dramatically over the course of the last few years. There are now 4 branches of the Abiy loyalist Republican Guard that is only answerable to Abiy Ahmed. So outside of just VIP protection units, the likes you would see with, say, the U.S. Secret Service and other security agencies that are designed to protect key leadership functionaries, you have 3 other departments now within the Republican Guard, as it has dramatically expanded, quite possibly into tens of thousands of personnel. The overall number at this point is classified. It's hard to find out what that actual number is. But they actually have, within the confines of the Ethiopian Republican Guard, the Abiy Ahmed Republican Guard, you have counter military units. And these units, these rapid reaction units, are specifically designed and trained to engage regular military units of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces. They are anti-coup d'etat forces. And again, these are brigade-sized formations, battalion-sized formations designed to rapidly interdict and attack Ethiopian National Defense Forces. They have also been used in the ongoing wars in Oromia and in the Tigray region as well. The second branch of the Republican Guard is the Republican Guard Special Forces. That is designed to not just provide protection outside of VIP type personnel, but the Republican Guard now actually provides security for the headquarters of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces. The Republican Guard actually, quote unquote, protects high-ranking generals of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces. So if there was any sort of coup d'etat or any power vacuum where the regular army was looking to topple Abiy Ahmed, then those embedded Republican Guard units, such as that are assigned to the headquarters of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, could then arrest or kill those generals possibly involved in said coup d'etat. So it makes it very, very difficult for the military to topple the Abiy Ahmed regime. And then finally, you have an expanding force, and this force is parallel to the Ethiopian Federal Police Force, which is really a militarized organization unto itself as well. So you now have the Republican Guard military police forces, and those forces run parallel to the federal police forces. So not just you have the Republican Guard watching the military apparatus, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, watching the leadership of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, but you also have now Ethiopian Republican Guard military police, or Abiy Ahmed Republican Guard military police, watching over the federal police forces as well. And again, these forces mirror the federal police forces in terms of operational capability and are more or less a redundant force, again, designed to counter even the federal police forces within Ethiopia. So very, very interesting to see Abiy Ahmed continues to expand his own personal army. And we've said before that the information that is coming out of the former state of Ethiopia indicates that Abiy Ahmed has no intent, zero intent of leaving power. There has been reports, and I've talked about this before, that he intends to be the longest serving African dictator on the planet Earth. And the best way to do that, the best way to facilitate that continued hold on power, is to create a regime security force, a very large regime security force that runs counter, that can counter the military, that can counter the federal police forces. And our understanding is that the personnel recruited into the Abiy Ahmed Republican Guard are fanatical zealots of Abiy Ahmed. So very interesting to see what Abiy Ahmed, is doing in terms of maintaining his grip on power, how he is maintaining that grip on power. And again, as we continue to see the expansion of the Republican Guard in terms of that regime security force, very, very interesting. He is really following the blueprint of such despotic rulers as Saddam Hussein. Isaiah Afwerki, who is his mentor. So we'll continue to follow the progress and enlargement of the Abiy Ahmed Republican Guard as it continues to grow, originally in the hundreds to thousands to now quite possibly in excess of tens of thousands of personnel now being recruited into this parallel army inside the former state of Ethiopia. But again, the situation on the ground in Tigray is essentially the same. Again, the Eritrean army is still present, and the Tigrayan Defense Forces continue to be fully mobilized and continue to hold vast areas of territory in the Tigray region, all indicated in the green at this point. I believe actually this area south of Adwa, you can see here on the map, these towns here, these are actually under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And you can see this partial green horseshoe. That indicates that Adwa is under partial siege by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in terms of the ability of the Eritrean army to move and maneuver in northern Tigray. Again, this map also indicates that it's a 50-50 split in terms of Eritrean army in the blue and the red Abiy loyalist forces. Well, the vast majority of these forces that are in the north are in fact Eritrean army forces. The biggest presence of Abiy loyalist forces are in the south, near Alamata. Furthermore, we will continue to watch what is happening in Oromia. The Oromo Liberation Army continues operations. This latest operation was incredibly successful, seizing control of towns and villages throughout western Oromia. Large road networks have been severed by the Oromo Liberation Army, and efforts by Abiy loyalist forces in the south to relieve some of these areas have been negated by and stopped by the Oromo Liberation Army. So we'll continue to monitor, report, and we will bring you more content as we receive information. We're waiting for some more information coming out of what is happening in Oromia, and we will absolutely have that as we continue to watch what is happening in the Tigray region as well. Hope the viewers found this interesting in terms of reporting on the expansion of the Abiy loyalist Republican Guard and his continued grip on power and how he, Abiy Ahmed, is doing that. And we, of course, will have more information very, very soon as we receive it. Thank you for joining us today. More to come. And as always, have a good day.